Okay, I didn't tell you about
He's
this
got some
story.
white rage. We know that.
Yeah, we know that.
Yeah.
I didn't tell you about this story ahead of time. So I just happened to run across it. And this was from Campus Reform. Virginia Tech. And the syllabus apologizes for this instructor's white skin. Okay?
They apologize for it?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm just going to read it to you.
Okay.
Because this is how nutty it's getting universities across the country. I'm a Caucasian, cisgender female, and first-generation college student from Appalachia who is Scottish, British, and Norwegian heritage. I am married to a cisgender male, and we are middle class. While I did not ask for the many privileges in my life, I have benefited from them and will continue to benefit from them, whether I like it or not. This is injustice. I am and will continue to work on a daily basis to be anti-racist and confront the innate racism within myself that is the reality and history of white people. I want to be better every day. I will transform every day. This work terrifies me every day.
Gosh.
I invite my white students to join me on this journey. And to my students of color, I apologize for the inexcusable horrors within our shared history. That's the indoctrination.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And so in the story, they talked to a couple of people that said, I want this off the record. One said, it hurts that someone says I was born with innate racism because of my skin color. Makes me feel like I should hide and worry about everything I say.
Yeah.
Critical race theory is really not taught. And they'll tell you that.
I have she's a friend of mine, woman who cleans my place for me, has a son, a teenage son, comes home from school and says to her, Mom, I need to apologize to my classmates for being white.
What?
And she said, no, you don't. You don't apologize for being white. That's why you were born. You've done nothing wrong.
That's brainwashing,
I've
man.
done nothing wrong. He learned it. This was a learned thing. Now, I don't know if it was by the teacher or by the students or whatever, but he felt like he needed to apologize for the color of his skin.
Holy mackerel.
Teenager.
You know, and I've seen another story from Campus Reform. Students signed petition to abolish the U.S. Constitution. There's another story, Whiteness 101. These instructors get paid to attend woke workshops. I mean, dude, it's nuts. And I was saying earlier, is this where all the bad ideas start? Because a lot of people would say that, claim it. And it seems to be true. This is where it starts.
Well, I used to think the only bad ideas started over a lot of alcohol, but that's not true anymore.
No, it's a lot of times at universities. Alcohol doesn't hurt.
No, if you combine the two, then you really got a dangerous cocktail. But I'm just saying.
I mean, if you heap shame on people
I know.
when they're hungover,
right.
Oh, it's even more effective.
Not only are you heaping shame on them there, you're heaping shame on them with the vaccine. Shame after shame after shame.
Yeah. You know, this reminded me of a conversation from 3 years ago. Mary Weiss, who is no longer with the New York Times, with Substack. It got too kooky at the failing New York Times for her, and she's gone. But she was talking to Jordan Peterson, the author, psychologist. He's, intellectual, philosopher. Mm-hmm. Rubs a lot of people the wrong way because he's pretty brash with his ideas and is not afraid to tell people that their ideas are just stupid and it doesn't hold up to research and the numbers. Mm-hmm. But Barry Weiss asked in this interview, what is unforgivable that the universities have done? Because this guy's been a professor for years, a lot of his studies. Have you ever heard Jordan Peterson speak before?
I don't think so.
Some people really like him. Some people, they find him irritating. Mm-hmm. But see if you like what he has to say here.
Well, they're overwhelmingly administratively top-heavy. And they don't spend any more money on the faculty than they did 30 years ago. And the cost of that administrative top heaviness, which is well documented, not by me, by other people, and it's been that way, it's been accelerating over the last 20 years, has been a radical increase in tuition fees, especially compared to the radical decrease in price of most things over the last 20 years. Now, so they've become administratively top heavy. The way, and this is especially true in the United States, the way that's being managed is that unsuspecting students are given free access to student loans that will cripple them through their 30s and their 40s. And the universities are enticing them to extend their carefree adolescence for a 4-year period at the cost of mortgaging their future earnings.
It's not just people like us that have these conversations.
Right.
That's my point.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the reasons they hate Jordan Peterson. There's a lot of reasons they hate Jordan Peterson, but that's one. And he goes on.
In a deal that does not allow for escape through bankruptcy. So it's essentially a form of indentured servitude. There's no excuse whatsoever for that. It means the administrators have learned how to pick the future pockets of their students. And because they also view them in some sense as sacred cash cows and fragile, let's say, because you might wonder why the students are being treated like they're so fragile. It's like, well, we don't want them to drop out now, do we?
Which a lot of people have also talked about over the last few years. The safe spaces, what someone sees someone write Trump in chalk and they were triggered. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden they're banning chalk from the freaking campus. You're like, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes sense. Well, we got to have the money coming in.
And we can't, if they drop out, then we don't get our hands on their future earnings in a way that they can't escape from. And that cripples the economy because the students come out overladen with debt that they'll never pay off right at the time when they should be at the peak of their ability to take entrepreneurial risks. So they can't do that because they're too crippled by debt. And so that's absolutely appalling.
By the way, the first question was, what do you find that's unforgivable about the universities? He's still got 45 seconds to go. Do you still want the rest?
I do, yeah.
He's not even done yet.
They're gerrymandering the accreditation processes so that the degree no longer has its credible value. They're enabling the activist disciplines, which have zero academic credibility whatsoever in my estimation, and I'm perfectly willing to defend that claim. And by enabling the activist disciplines, they're allowing for the distribution of this absolutely nonsensical view that Western society is fundamentally a patriarchal tyranny, which is absurd on at least 5 dimensions of analysis, but is becoming increasingly the thing you have to believe if you're allowed to speak in public.
Well, again, this was 3 years ago. It's only gotten worse since then.
Oh, yeah.
We know that.
Well, that's what else. That's a good start. They're not teaching students to read critically. They're not introducing them to great literature. They're not teaching them to write. It's like the list goes on and on and on.
I thought you might enjoy that.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
A little dose of wisdom from Jordan Peterson, at least for me, is pretty uplifting every now and again. Did you see where Rolling Stone magazine updated their greatest songs of all time list?
Yes.
You did see this?
I did see this, yes.
Okay. What was your reaction to say what's in the top 10 now?
Well, it's...
What?
It's so today.
It's so Rolling Stone.
It's so Rolling Stone.
Trying to be relevant.
So woke and relevant. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. What exactly are we talking about? We'll get to that, along with a news update straight ahead. This is the Markley Van Camp and Robin Show.